Hi everyone, this is Dr. Karamanchi. I'm just waiting for the video to load. I'm hoping you're able to hear. Sorry, my connection is slow today. So I want to talk about the recent lawsuit involving Freedom Square. This is a facility located in Pinellas County. I think it's somewhere in the Clearwater, St. Petersburg area. So as I told you before, we were expecting a whole bunch of lawsuits to be filed against nursing homes, and this one came on the news on Monday, I believe, and we had a conference call in the hospital that I work, and in the conference call, the doctors mentioned that this is essentially bad news, and this is going to set up a bad situation for the future. And I'm going to go over that with you. So this is a senior facility. It has assisted living, it has independent living, it also has the regular nursing home, long-term care, and also memory care. And it's a decent nursing home. And if you look at their prices, they're priced in the medium to high range. Like for example, the assisted living is around 5,000 per month. Independent living is around 1,900 or 2,000 per month. Nursing home is around 3,000 to 10,000 per month. The entry point for continuing care retirement community is around 70,000. So unless you pay 70,000 upfront, they won't allow you into the community. And for memory care, it's around 5,600 or 6,000 per month. So if you look at those numbers, those are, in the medium to high range, at least the price here in this part of Florida. Okay. So we expect a lot from them in terms of infection control, in terms of how they take care of the residents and so forth. Um, but eventually, I believe that didn't happen. Again, I don't know. I've never been there, and I don't know the situation. So I'm just reading, what they wrote in the news. So there are two residents. One is Donald Jack. His age was 75. Another one is Christopher Pug, and his age is 84. And their families separately filed lawsuits against this particular nursing home through this firm called Wilkes and Hughes. And the name of the lawyer is Benny Lazara, and you can call their office to figure this out. And the allegation is that the nursing home was responsible for both of the deaths. And essentially, this is what happened on April 9th. There was one resident who became sick, and they had hi Raleigh, thanks for listening. One resident was sick, and I think they transferred that resident to the hospital, and the next day that resident died. Okay, so the expectation is now the infection is there in that particular building or whatever, and chances are it was already spreading in the 2 weeks prior. Okay, and by April 9th, maybe the owners don't know. Maybe it depends on their medical director. It depends on a lot of factors. Maybe they were not educated. Maybe they were not aware of the guidelines. We don't know the exact circumstances. But on April 17, the entire facility was evacuated because there were multiple staff, multiple residents who had infections. So they were all evacuated, a bunch of ambulances. Um, and unfortunately, what happened between April 9th and April 17th was that the families were not informed of what was going on. And I think that is the big reason why there was a lawsuit. Okay, the family was caught unawares, especially for the residents who filed a lawsuit, and their allegation was the nursing home was trying to cover up some things, and maybe they didn't have good infection control practices. Maybe there was a lot of wrongdoing. Maybe their staff were already infected, and they continued to let them work. So these are all the allegations, and most of these can be fair. I don't know the circumstances again. But unfortunately, what this is going to lead is it's going to lead to numerous other lawsuits, because this is going to set a legal precedent. Like for example, we have legal precedent. In the case of abortion, we have the Roe versus Wade case. So right from when I was in masters or doing medical school, they always talk about the Roe versus Wade case, and we analyze that particular case to figure out the ethics of abortion, to figure out what are do's and don'ts in an abortion. So similarly, this particular case becomes a seminal case for all the trial lawyers across the country to figure out, what the what the what the law is going to decide, and based on what the judgment they get, they're going to use this as a precedent in all other future lawsuits against nursing homes. So I'm going to go over some numbers. In Florida, 83% of people who died were 65 and older, which makes some theoretical and rational sense because their immunity is lower than people who are in their people who are younger, and they may not they may have numerous comorbidities. They may have diabetes, high blood pressure, and all these other problems, and also they may not be getting good care if they're in a long-term care facility. We don't know the circumstances. And also 43% of these deaths were happened in a long-term care facility, which means being in a long-term care facility is now a risk factor for dying from COVID. Um, and as you have seen, like Donald Jack, this particular person is 75 years old, reportedly. Um, 75 is in the big picture, although the median age in this country is 78, 75 is still considered relatively young, in geriatrics. Geriatrics in that particular field, we start seeing patients when they're 65. 75, when they cross 80, then we start getting concerned. We start to take more aggressive care. So Christopher Pug is 84. So he has crossed the median age of death in the U.S. population. Doesn't mean that doesn't mean he has to die from COVID. Maybe he was relatively healthy before. I don't know those details. So unfortunately, this is going to lead to numerous other lawsuits going forward in the next 6 months. And I also want to point out, especially in hi Kisma, thanks for watching. Especially in New York City, in the state of New York, the governor or whomever whomever is the authority, they gave legal immunity to all these facilities. So by giving legal immunity, essentially nobody can sue them, even if there is death or even if there is wrongdoing. Okay, so that has protected all of the facilities in New York City, New York State. But that's not the case in Florida. Florida is not like that. They, especially when it comes to liability, they don't allow any limits. They don't allow any blanket protection. And I believe that's not going to change because that's how Florida is. There are pros and cons to both models. In New York City and the New York State, there are numerous deaths, and there is suspicion that there's a lot of wrongdoing, both on the side of the nursing homes and on the hospital side. And the reason behind that is, they really don't have to care because they know that they're not going to be sued. They know that they don't have liability. Um, and on the other side in Florida, the doctors tend to be way too aggressive. So if you're 90 years old and let's say you're having bleeding from the gut, they go ahead and do the procedure, even though they know that the risk is high for the person to die from the procedure rather than the illness itself. And the reason why they want to do the procedure is in a legal situation, they want to prove to the jury that they did everything possible to save this person's life in spite of them being 90 years old or 95 years old. So, that brings the situation of over treatment, and that's also unethical. Um, but if you don't have legal protections, then chances are the elderly can die, and the doctor or the nursing home or the facility is not being held accountable for that. So there are pros and cons to both situations. What's happening in New York State, what's happening in Florida. But no matter what it is, for the owners, for the staff, this is bringing a lot of stress because in this particular situation, I think 32 residents and one employee died in this particular facility in Freedom Square. From what's written in the newspaper, 32 residents and one employee died, which means the relatives of all these other 30 residents who died can use this as a precedent, and they can go ahead and sue whatever this company is, the Freedom Square, and whoever owns this. So that's bad news for them. Same thing with this employee. If the family of the if the close family members of the employee find out that there's the nursing home has some they did not provide the protective equipment or there was some wrongdoing, they're going to go ahead and sue the facility as well. So this is going to shake up the nursing home industry in Florida, at least, if not the entire country. And I don't know who the winner is going to be, and I don't know who will survive. I believe a lot of these facilities are going to close down. And unfortunately, whoever survives, they're going to charge a really high price. Like for example, how can somebody afford $5,000 a month for assisted living? Or if you want to be admitted into a continuing care retirement community, the entry fee is 70,000. Right now their prices are relatively high, and imagine with the liability situation to reimburse their costs, chances are they're going to increase the price even more next year. And the same thing with all the other facilities in Florida state. Chances are they're going to increase their prices, because even though they're not involved in legal situations now, 2 years down the line, they will be involved in legal situations because of COVID-19. And unfortunately, for a normal person, for the average lay person, and if you want to put your parents in such a good facility or a nicer facility, you won't be able to afford it. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to share this with you. These are some interesting developments. This is something to be aware of. Number one, my personal goal is, for my clients to not be in a situation where they need a nursing home and they're age 65, 75, or 85. And a lot of that has to do with lifestyle, all the other things that I talked about in the previous videos. Um, I offer things that the regular MDs don't offer, in terms of prevention. I talk a lot about meditation, energy healing, and so forth. And if there is a situation where your parents and grandparents are going into a facility, or they're already in a facility, then I can come up with a strategy where their immunity can be enhanced, and we can prevent them from dying from COVID-19. So there are ways to get around this. I believe lawsuits are not the best way to deal with this, but that's where everybody's going. So I want to quickly share this with you. Thanks for listening to me. If you have any comments, post below. If you know more about Freedom Square, and if you have friends there working, please share with me. You can send me a private DM. Um, if you have family member in a nursing home and you're worried about them, please send me a DM. And I'll post the link for the news article where I got this information from in Tampa Bay Times in the comment section. So look forward to talking to you all again. Have a wonderful night. Bye.